Welcome back. Welcome back. Diamond K in the morning on the all new radioonfire.com. Of course, I am here and happy Friday to everybody. All right. So, you know that we love books and you know we love to talk to authors. And I have one on the line now. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Evita Sherman, author of Does Grandma Remember Me?
Wow. Wow. That is a powerful title. Uh, and when I saw it, I had my own thoughts. I've had my own experiences, but I'm going to let you talk a little bit about this book and what inspired you to write this.
So I wrote the book after placing my mother in a locked memory care facility. Her dementia had been advancing, and there had been an episode where my niece, whom she loved dearly, and I were together, and she looked at my niece as if she didn't know who she was. And my niece broke down into tears. She looked at me and said, "What is wrong with grandma? Why didn't you tell me?" And so I had to explain to her that dementia, it's not that she doesn't love you anymore, it's just that she can't remember. And so I wrote the book as a way, in a cathartic way, to, after placing her in this locked memory care unit, to really be able to put in writing for other people that have experienced the same thing. They've lost a loved one that right before their eyes, and they just don't know what happened. It's almost like it's overnight. And
Yeah,
dementia is that way.
yeah, absolutely. I experienced that with my grandmother.
Yeah.
And my mother had been telling me that she was slipping with her memory and different things like that, and I had noticed little things here and there, but one day my mother was the primary caregiver,
Yes.
and I went to her house to visit her once, and just it seemed to me like it just happened overnight.
Right.
And just like your relative described, it just seemed like she didn't know who I was. And based on our conversation, I could really tell that
Yes.
she just didn't know.
Yes. Yes.
So
Ab-
this is definitely something that will be comforting for people. So I'm sure that it was almost like therapy for yourself.
yes. It was very cathartic. I needed it.
Yeah, yeah. And so is it your story that you're telling here in the book?
What I'm telling is more so that just that snapshot in time with my mother and my niece. And it's a little girl who adores her grandmother, and her grandmother considers her to be the sun in her life, her heart. And all of a sudden, she's no longer the love of her grandmother's life because her grandmother doesn't remember her.
Yeah.
And so it takes you through, um, kind of what the little girl is feeling. And some people have said it's a little bit of a sad story, but it's a great ending. And I didn't really write it that way, but that's how dementia affects people and affects families. It's very real. Um,
Yes, it is.
it is. And as you're scrolling through my website, I wanted to give people an idea of how to talk to children about what is dementia. It's very difficult for adults to wrap their brains around it and understand it and accept it. And so you can imagine how children view a grandparent that they've seen all of their life for 5 years, 7 years, 9 years, and they've never changed, and then they changed right before them. So how do you talk to children? When do you talk to children about dementia, especially within a loved one?
Absolutely. And it's something that folks don't think about too often. How do you talk to the children
Right,
about something serious like this? I mean,
right.
usually we're caught up in our own emotions and our own feelings.
Mhm.
But I honestly never even considered how some of the younger members of the family are really affected by this.
Mhm. And it's important to talk with them. especially when they see the same signs that you're seeing as an adult. Just because they're a child does not mean that they don't recognize that there's a difference. They know when somebody loves them, and children know when things change. So it's better to talk with them right when it's happening. And then what you can do is say, tell me what you're seeing. Tell me what you think is going on with grandma.
Right.
And then it becomes more pertinent to them. You're bringing it to their level. Dementia, because there's no cure at this point, is very difficult.
Absolutely.
There's
Very, very difficult.
exactly
And
the research hasn't advanced enough yet
yeah,
uh, for a cure.
yeah. And so with the story that is so very personal, what type of reaction did members of your family have to this book?
Well, it's interesting. So they love the book. They were surprised. This is my first book, my first children's book, my first book altogether, and my family is very proud of me. But what happens in families is that everyone has their own perspective of that person and their beliefs of what should happen to that person and with that person now that they have dementia. They
Right.
need to go here, or we need to do this, or we need to decide this for them. And it's really important that the individual, even though they're losing their memory, they still have a voice about what they want and when they want it and how they want it. And I find that that's the most difficult part of living through a process where your loved one is experiencing dementia. It's just very difficult. It pits the family sometimes against each other because their perspectives are so different. And sometimes it brings the family together. It just depends.
Yeah, I'm sure that with the release of something that hits so many people, like Does Grandma Remember Me?
Mhm.
You've gotten all types of responses from people that have gone through this same thing. Does anything stand out to you from people that you've talked to?
Absolutely. So my niece, who I more or less wrote this book about with my about and my mom, she's a teacher in DC public school system. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but in the public school system. And so she had me actually present this, read it to her third grade class a few months ago, to two groups, and it was fascinating. They just grasped the concept so quickly. Some of the students had experienced it with a loved one, others hadn't. And so those that had experienced it explained it better than I could, actually. They gave them examples of what happened with my grandpa when he went to the doctor. Took him to the doctor. He couldn't remember where his toe was, let alone his ear, but we still love him. They were animated, and they were excited about the book and thanked me for writing it, which was, it broke my heart. It was so touching that they
Mhm.
wanted to thank me for writing the book.
Yeah, that's one thing about kids. They are
Yeah,
going to be honest with you,
yeah,
and they're gonna get straight to the point and
yeah,
say exactly how they feel.
yes, yes. And I actually am an administrator at a nursing home. So working with those kids just for two half an hour segments and then going back on the floor with my elder residents, they're the same way. They'll tell you what's on their minds. And some of them I've shared the book with, and they actually love it too.
Yes, yes. So you were talking about doing that with the young ones, and is that something that you enjoy? Reading to them and talking with young ones
I do. I do.
about this.
I love it. I love it. And maybe because I work with older people during the day, I don't have little children around me. So I really enjoyed reading to them, and I'll be doing it with some of the other schools once they open back up in the fall.
Yes, wonderful. That is really good, and I really commend you on tackling something like this. A lot of times when something is personal to us, uh, it's such a delicate thing. It's such a delicate thing. I definitely commend you on this. So, are you active on social media?
I am. I have Facebook. It's Evita Sherman, author, and I'll be on Instagram as well.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah. So, and my website is evitasherman.com.
Wonderful.
And
So
I will be writing another book. I am actually
that was
writing
my next question. I was going to ask you. So this is the first one, and did you get bit by the bug, and were you going to do something else?
I did get bit by the bug in that not just to write it, but to write a series about different kinds of dementia,
Yeah.
because this was more memory loss related to my mother. But there are so many, there are 92 different types of dementia, including Alzheimer's disease. And so I'm picking like three or four different types of dementia that children may find themselves facing with a loved one, not just a loss of memory. So that's what I plan on doing. And I have kind of an idea of writing a series of 4 or 5 books related to that.
Yeah, that is, and this is going to be geared towards our young people.
It is. They're all children's books. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes. Yes.
It's an excellent group that we need to talk to, and then grabbing them at such an early stage, it will make some of these things that they will probably experience or come in contact with at some point time later on,
Mm-hmm.
establishing that foundation,
Mm-hmm.
so they can just understand really what's happening early.
Yes.
So that is a great thing. And you were talking about, and it's something that is on your site as well. Just reinforcing the best time to talk to the children about it. Is it best to bring it up the moment that us as adults notice it, or like when is the best time?
I find that it's better to bring it up when they notice. And
Mhm.
they may not say anything to you right away, but you know your child.
Right.
They'll either become very pensive, like they're thinking through something, or if they're very verbal as a child, they'll say, "Why is grandma asking what time it is all day long? Why doesn't she remember?"
Yeah.
So it's those times when that will prompt you to really start talking about why it is that grandma is asking these questions, and why is she repeating herself all the time, and why doesn't she remember me, perhaps, or does she remember me? And it's you have to talk about how you feel as an adult about your mother not remembering you, so that your child can understand your perspective and therefore reflect on what their perspective is.
Right. Right. That's very important. And last thing I wanted to ask you, I love the cover and the illustrations. Who did the illustrations, and
Mhm.
who is the artist that did this?
The artist actually was my niece's husband's cousin, who was in
Hmm.
art school in Philadelphia at the time and just finishing art school, Shayla Bolden. And she's done really a phenomenal job making my story come alive. And I told her that I love the illustration so much, and that my mother would absolutely approve. And my mother's really a tough-minded woman, so she would definitely approve.
Yeah, yeah, I really really like it, and I can just feel the love in and the illustrations and the drawings. It's very lifelike. I really really
Yeah.
like it, and I'm sure that everyone else does too.
Yes. Yes.
So again, how can people get in touch with you and find out more about the book and bring you to their school and things like that?
Yes, if they go on my website, they can just select contact. And for any readings, I'd love to do that in school or Zoom calls, it doesn't matter. I also help families work through issues related to, a parent having dementia and not having all of their ducks in a row, if you will. Like, what are the options for their living arrangements or taking care of them? So you can also get in touch with me for that.
Wonderful, wonderful, and
Okay.
that is a really great thing that you're doing, and I
Thank you.
definitely commend you on that. Oh yeah, you got the
Yes,
book right
I
there.
do. I have the book here.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so again, people can go to the website and contact you, hit
Yes.
you up on Facebook and all of that.
EvitaSherman.com. Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. I
Yes.
really appreciate, again, I really can't thank you enough for writing this book. Even though I'm not a child, I can relate to this. I mean, the subject is something, as I said, is personal to me and many others. So definitely thank you.
I really
Just as a
appreciate you
third grader,
having
say
me on.
thank you for writing this.
Thank you. Yes, yes. They were on point with their thank yous. My niece actually had to cut them off. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
All right, you as well. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.